many of you are afraid of heights, it's okay. You can tell us in the comment section, and if you are, you may want to click off this video. Welcome to Chaos Gaming. Today we're going to go over the tallest points in the history of open world gaming. We are going to touch the clouds, my friends. You let me know if you visited any of these. If you're gonna visit any of these after you watch this video, make sure you're following the page with those notifications completely turned on. That means ringing that little bell. And let's start off with the Central Tower in Saints Row 4. Now, Saints Row is a game all about wacky strats and explosive moments. That being said, the Central Tower in this game is one of the highest points you can reach in any open world game, and it's not easy to get there. You have to make a lot of rather precise jumps, and if you screw up even once, it can send you all the way back to the bottom where you have to start from square one or square zero, whatever you want to call it. Even with your jumping abilities upgraded, it's hard to get to the top of the towers in Saints Row 4. But if you manage to do it, it's actually pretty gratifying. Take a second, just take in the views. Not only do you get a pretty good look at the map, but you also get to swan dive down onto an unsuspecting enemy or random civilian, whatever you want to do. Saints Row is crazy. Next up, Shanghai Tower in Battlefield 4. Now, this has to be one of the highest points of any multiplayer map ever made. It's located on the map Siege of Shanghai, and it has to be one of the hardest points in the map to get to. But if you can somehow get up there in one piece, you'll be able to look down on the entire map until the tower collapses. Yep, this is a Battlefield game, so of course the tallest point in the game can also be brought down all the way to the ground in a big pile of rubble. So be sure to evacuate if that's happening. But if you just want to find a really, really high spot on a multiplayer map, the Shanghai Tower in Battlefield 4 will get that job done. I think it's worthy of a spot today, but we're just getting started. How about the Wonder Tower in Batman Arkham City? Arkham City was the point where Arkham franchise as a whole transitioned from an open world action game to a fully open world. In Arkham City, the tallest point on the map is called Wonder Tower, which is actually pretty tough to get to the top of. You can't just zip up the top of the building because it's way too tall. Instead, you have to find an entrance and work your way up through the inside, which usually has a bunch of armed guards stationed at a couple points as well. Once you get to the top, though, you'll find yourself at the highest point on the entire map. It's actually quite the spectacle. You get to look down on all of Arkham City, and if you look off into the distance, you can even see the island where the first game took place. Yeah, Wonder Tower is a pretty awesome spot, and if you can make the trek to the top, you're going to get some nice eye candy. Now let's move over to Borderlands, specifically Borderlands 2 and the ship. It's a little hard to get to because it's not part of the base game, but if you have the Captain Scarlet DLC, you can find it. The ship can be found in this expansion, and it takes a minute or two to get to the top of because once you're up there, well, you can see everything. Borderlands 2 may have a somewhat unconventional art style, but when you're looking out at the entire map like this, it's actually pretty beautiful. I would love to see Borderlands 1 and 2 get remade on a newer engine, and I think that would be amazing. Not that the older games have aged poorly or anything like that, but there's always improvement for older games, especially when they have such a passionate fan base. Now let's go somewhere classic. The Eiffel Tower and the Saboteur, or whatever you want to call it. Does anybody remember this game? It was an open world action game released 11 years ago? I guess it's turned into a cult classic. It's a unique premise and fun writing, but you didn't click on the video to hear about underrated games from the late 2000s. You clicked for the highest points in video games, and my friends, the Eiffel Tower fits the bill. Now, you can't go right up the side like others on this list. Instead, you have to make your way up to the top from the inside, but once you're there, you have a gorgeous view of the entire map, and you get to soak in the sights of France. Oh, well, a pixelated version of it at least. Doesn't matter. The game is pretty good if you can get hold of it. It was swallowed up by the competition at that time, but it's worth a second look. Now let's get into some crazy ones. The Hills by Dam in COD Warzone. This may shock you, but the tallest point on the Warzone map is not a building. You may have thought it was the Tower at Hospital or the center building in downtown, but the tallest point on the map is actually a bunch of hills by Dam that people love to camp on. Now, if we're talking about the furthest fall from jump to ground, the hills by the dam are definitely going to do that. And they're also a really good camping spot. I mean, looking south from here, you can pretty much see the entire map. And if you've got a sniper, you can even hit some shots from here. Is it a dignified way to play? No. Can it be fun? Yeah. And is it tall? Absolutely. The damn hills in Warzone are certainly deserving of a spot on this list. And if you camp there, well, we're not friends. At number 4. Lego Marvel Superheroes, the Shield Helicarrier. Now, in this criminally underrated superhero game, you play as a giant cast of Marvel heroes and villains while playing through an original story in a giant open-world interpretation of New York City. The main hub for the game is the Shield Helicarrier. Just like in many of the MCU movies, in order to get there, you have to fast travel from one of the various locations around the map. But once you get up to it, you have full control of what happens next. And if you want to, you can even skydive off the side of the ship and glide your way all the way down to New York City. So while the Helicarrier isn't technically connected to the map, it's still part of it. And since you can dive from the ship all the way down to the ground floor, here it is today. Plus, it's awesome to dive your way down on the pavement below, and it's a nice way for the game to transition from the level hub to the open world. Now, all we need is an actual MCU movie that's formatted like the Lego games. At number 3, the Agency Tower in Crackdown. This is definitely one of the weirdest franchises in gaming history. The first game was absolutely fantastic, but the second was awful. And then the third, it was somewhere in between. You have to wonder, what happened here? I mean, well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, Agency Tower is tall. By far the tallest point on the map in the original Crackdown, and one of the tallest points in any open world video game city. This is also the spot where you have to do a little work to get to. You can't even climb it without leveling up your character's agility to almost maximum. However, once you get that 4-star agility rating, you can start to make your way all the way up Agency Tower. Jump from vantage point to vantage point. It's actually pretty fun as a challenge, and once you're up there, you'll get the High Flyer achievement as well as some nice views of the city. So, Microsoft, when are we getting Crackdown 1 remastered? I mean, you clearly haven't figured out what to do with the license over the years. You might as well remake the first game, which was the easiest game, and people would enjoy it. Now let's move over to Elder Scrolls, specifically Oblivion, and even more specifically, Null Mountain. 15 years after release, people still talk about how great this game is. Heck, a lot of people think it's even better than Skyrim, but I'm going to let you guys argue that out in the comments. Null Mountain is the highest point on the entire map, and this map is huge. So you say, why does it get the number 2 spot? Well, Oblivion was praised for the amount of freedom it gave the player. You could venture around the map, and Null Mountain was a great reward for just exploring the entire place. A long trek upwards that ends with a gorgeous view looking over the entire map. It is a sight to behold. And if you haven't played Oblivion, well, you should. Elder Scrolls 6 is in the works. We know that, so you might as well give this one a shot until it comes out. But at number 1, a lot of you probably already guessed, Mount Chiliad in GTA 5. What better way to wrap things up than one of the most popular games of all time? GTA 5 launched 8 years ago, and it's still one of the best-selling games in the world now. And if you're looking to get to the absolute highest point, well, you got to drive, you got to climb, you got to work, maybe fly. I mean, it's the tallest mountain in the entire state of San Andreas, and it's easily the highest point on the entire map. Like I said, it's a bit of a trek to get up there, but once you're there, you'll be treated to some absolutely stunning views, especially if you're playing on PC with some mods installed. Mount Chiliad is the tallest point, I think, of any popular games out there, and for that reason, I'm giving it the number 1 spot today. So there you go. If you had a fear of heights, maybe we helped solve that. I don't know. Those are the tallest points in open world gaming. How many have you actually visited? I'll see you guys soon.